Welcome back to another vlog. This is Ducktales Season 2, Episodes 5 and 6, Storkules in Duckburg and Last Christmas. So to start with, I really liked Storkules in Duckburg, which those of you who've been watching for a while could probably have predicted. But it pretty much captured the essence of startup culture. This nominal notion of find a problem and solve it. But the goal isn't to solve problems, it's to make money. And so, just as acceptable as finding a problem and solving it is creating a problem and solving it. Which they're actually doing from the start. It's Storkules' presence, their employee, it's his presence that's causing the harpies to attack Duckburg. So, really their company is behind the problem from the start, even before Louis decides to release the captured harpies. And the result is, they make all this money and want still more, so they have to recreate the problems or create new problems. And that's how business operates. I really love this because you would not have seen this in the 80s DuckTales. The closest the 80s DuckTales was very Reagan era. It very much had that aesthetic, and Scrooge's desire for ever-increasing wealth was never interrogated at all. Whereas in the new DuckTales, that is the trait of his. Each of the nephews and Webbies kind of exemplifies one of Scrooge's traits, and Louis is his greed. And we see that that's almost always portrayed negatively, as it really should be. There's certainly a place for wanting things you don't have. That is a motivator for many people. But when that becomes the end-all be-all, as it inherently is with any business, it becomes incredibly destructive. So that's what we see, and it's great. Storkules himself, I'm kind of on as a character. He's big and super strong and dumb, and that's basically his whole character. And honestly, that makes him a lot like Launchpad. And he hero worships Donald. That's about the only difference between the two, and even there, that could be a Launchpad trait. Like, he just doesn't feel distinct enough as a character to have an entire episode revolving around him. He worked as a B-plot gag in the first season episode he was in, and as a vehicle by which we could learn, how messed up Donald was about what happened, and how that pushed him into abandoning adventuring. But with that bit of character, Donald's character arc has advanced. He's a little more open to adventure, though he's still quite cautious. After what happened to Della, Storkules just doesn't serve much function as a character, except to be annoying to Donald. And he just isn't that entertaining. Nonetheless, though, like I said, I really enjoyed the episode. It is easily the best Louis-focused episode we've had. Because on top of that, it just had some really good gags. It had good timing. I loved the whole side thing with Webby training the harpies. And the degree to which Huey was just so done with Louis, but kept getting sucked back in. It was good stuff. Last Christmas, not so much. Now, I will freely admit to being biased here. I hate Christmas music more than almost any other kind of music. I think it may actually be the single kind of music I hate most. I hate almost all Christmas specials. And frankly, between the music and the specials, I kind of hate Christmas. So I'm not really there for it right from the start. It does some clever things. I like the idea that, Scrooge is not the Scrooge of Christmas Carol. That they bring in these elements of Christmas Carol, the ghosts, but then thankfully don't recreate it. I feel like that's one of the most overdone stories. Like, if you do not have an idea for how your show can do a Christmas special, just do a Christmas Carol pastiche. Number 7,826. So I'm glad that they did something different with it, making the Jiminy Cricket character, because that's who he is. Jiminy Cricket was the ghost of Christmas Past in the animated Disney A Christmas Carol, which was actually Scrooge's first animated appearance. So that is who that was. That was Jiminy Cricket. And making him the villain was great. That he's resentful basically over the proliferation of Christmas Carol pastiches. He said every Christmas he spends it helping someone, some greedy bastard learn the meaning of Christmas. And that's a direct reference to how common these pastiches are. So it was fun having him as the villain, but by far the Dewey meeting Donald and Della thing was much stronger segment. It was just, that's the emotional core of the show, really, is the whole Della thing. And Dewey is the character most connected with it. He and Webby were the ones doing most of the unraveling of the mystery last season, and of the two of them, Dewey is the one with a much stronger emotional connection to Della. At the same time, him being all broody in his room about his, presumed dead mom is... it would be a different story if she had actually been in his life at any point. If somebody's mom, just died, don't force them to come out and spend Christmas with the family. That'd be messed up. But the truth is, he's not really got anything to brood about because he's never actually known her. So, it actually is kind of selfish of him to not be around for his family at this, time when they all want to be together. It's, him drawing a boundary and saying, I need some alone time is one thing, but spending the whole night alone in his room brooding over essentially a person he's never met, not so much. And so that contrast with 90s Donald was great. Although, the fact that Donald Duck is apparently now the same age as me, because I would have been I was a teenager right around when Nirvana was a big deal. And that's clearly the aesthetic that Donald is in as a teenager. So he's the same age as me or a little younger, which is depressing. But I do not feel like someone who is old enough to have preteen children. But regardless, that segment was really good. I, of course, have to observe that, I'm now blanking on her name, but Donald was very audibly voiced by the woman who did the voice of Huey, Dewey, and Louie in the original Ducktales. And She even uses one of their catchphrases, Quackaroony. I was curious to see if Della was someone from the old show, but I could only find one credit for Della, not two. There's not a separate Della, young Della credit. So I think it was the same actress who plays Della at the episode's end, who played her as a child. I'm not certain about that, but I think that's the case. Still, though, it had the biggest problem of any Christmas special, which is that it felt the need to have Christmas music in it. Pretty much from the moment it opened with fucking jingle bells, I was like, okay, nope, I am not going to enjoy this. Because it is impossible for me to enjoy anything while Christmas music is playing. I hate it that much. So, yeah. That really dragged down an episode that otherwise had some clever stuff in it. I like that, for example, Scrooge's hatred for Santa is real, but the rest is a put-on. That's very clever, and I assume that's setting up for some future Christmas special where he reconciles with Santa. Barf. But as it is, it's, a nice little thing that, he's not really all bah humbug, but he actually does have some kind of a beef with Santa Claus. But yeah. Otherwise, decent episode dragged down by the vortex of awful that is any and all Christmas music. That's pretty much it. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed that. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Patreon for early access to vlogs, Let's Plays, essays, and more. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!